Yo, what is happening, folks? Welcome to Gameplay, the eSports show that keeps you in the know of all things high school and university eSports. My name is Colin Tabanyame, aka Scara, or it's Scara in the eSports streets, and today I'm going to be covering some pro tip segments from our special guest later on, but also talking about how to get into eSports, because y'all be asking time and time again, Scara, how do I get into eSports? How do I do? Hey, now is the time to show you and tell you what you need to do. But without any further ado, let's get right into it. So jumping right into things, the first thing is going to be talking about how to get into esports. Because, yo, guys, I get this question time and time again. Yo, Scara, how do I do casting? Yo, Scara, how do I get this? How do I start? There is so much to talk about, but these are just a few things that I can tell you that helped me, right? And the first thing is getting started. That's something everyone will tell you. Just get it started. You have to start somewhere. You have to start with something. I mean, some of the biggest people, personalities, and players have started with the worst setups possible. I mean, someone like Sam Tetgo Wright, who was on the show, one of the biggest hosts in South Africa for esports, that's going through to international countries to host some of the biggest events. She started with her phone. Sean Rishamfo, Snare, he even started out just with friends on a janky setup. It doesn't mean you have to have the best stuff. Just because you have RGB, you have the Sony camera, you have this you don't need any of that to just start out. Yes, it's good to have, you have the good quality, but sometimes even the humblest of beginnings can really take you the furthest. I mean, take me for instance, guys. I started on a lawn chair with a 32-inch TV and LTE. You think I even thought I was gonna get you? No, but at the end of the day, it's all about starting. Once you get yourself started, you start to get into the groove of things, you start to grow and you start to improve yourself. That is the first step you can take to start yourself and getting into esports. So now the next one is work smarter, not harder. The guys will be like, but how is Jeffrey getting all this opportunity? How is Bob there now, the one that's famous, or he's the better player? It's how you work. It's how you do all of your things. Just because someone is doing better than you or someone is doing it doesn't mean you must look and start hating. Sometimes it's all about thinking about how can I start working smarter and not harder. Yes, you can put in 11 hours into a game, but how is it a guy that's putting in 2 hours is doing better than you in the game? You start to think about how can you start using your time wisely. You think about, okay, how can I start investing better? How can I learn and improve myself? So it's not always about trying to be the most hardworking, putting in thousands and thousands of hours. It's how you utilize your time and how you make it work for you as well in the long run. That's also a lesson that people even teach you in real life. It's not just in esports. It's all about working smarter for yourself, not burning yourself out, and learning how to grow sustainably. All right, and now the final thing I'm gonna tell y'all is networking. Yo, people, please network. I get it, you're a gamer, you wanna stay in your room, you wanna be antisocial, not talk to people, but at the end of the day, if you wanna go further, whether it's as a pro player, a caster, a host, even as a tournament organizer, or even just owning a team, you need to know people. You need to speak to people. You have no idea how far that can take you and how much it can benefit you in the long run. Don't do it just because you want to be friends with Bob, who has a team that is going and competing internationally. Just do it because you understand that this can benefit your business at the end of the day. Because that's what it can be at times. Esports is a business. And if you want to grow your business, you need to know people in the space. I mean, take me, for instance. There's been times where I've got into positions because I knew the right people. Obviously, I have the skill set, but also because you know the person or you know the people, you have the right references, you have the right people to point you in the best direction. So networking can take you so far in esports, you have no idea. And again, this is not just a life lesson for esports, it's a life lesson for life in general. The more you know, the better it can be for you. So guys, I'll say this now and forevermore. Network, know people, talk to people. It's not always about trying to find benefit in people, but just talking to people and getting to know different walks of life. All right, now it's time for our pro tip segment, and this time, you guys actually, for the first time, get to meet my guest before the interview. So it's going to be Umar Rasool, who also goes by the name Worty, going to be sharing some Rocket League tips, analyzing his gameplay, and showing what you can learn from your games. You're like, wait, let me grab my controller for this one, because this one's going to be good.
Hey guys, Umar Rasool here, more commonly known as Worty. I'm going to be helping you guys out with a quick pro tip for this segment. And I'm going to put you in a position that you've probably been in before, losing mid-game. So, as you can see, it's 2-1, we're down, we've got 2 minutes 20 left. Let's get into the game. Going off for a strong 50 off kickoff. Trying to get pads here. Don't want to be too offensive right now. Just get a touch across, allow me to get boost, buy some time, specifically for my teammate and for myself. Touch goes across, there's no real threat. Trying to get a touch back to my teammate, see if he can do anything with it. He gets a good touch, place it to the corner. I don't want to overcommit, so we're not going to go into that corner too deep. I want to try and disrupt this player, so we look for the demo. He then gets a good touch, looks for the 1v1. It should be a goal, and it is. Perfect. We're 2-2, 2 minutes left. Now let's see how we can recover this game. Off of kickoff again, just trying to cheat up a little bit close. He beats me to that boost, so we're immediately going back, trying to get the back right. There's no real threat here, so we're going to get a touch back across mid. His teammate's awkward, it is a 1v1 situation. Try and play close, get a nice touch, put some offensive pressure here on net. I do get beaten. We get the pads back. We don't need to overcommit for this. My teammate gets a strong touch to the corner, at least he gets 2. So now it's again in a bit of a 2v2 situation. Good touch across as well, gets the demo, and that opens up the net. 3-2 now, 1 minute 30. Let's see if we can either defensively hold out or get one more goal on. Make it a 4-2 game. Off of kickoff, goes to the side. I'm getting beat, so I try and get boost, go back. My teammate is gone. It's a bit of a 1v0 situation, so we get one touch to the corner. Buy some time, play it slow, keep possession. Now we get a big pinch out. Getting some boost here to the left side. Want to keep control here. Don't want to throw the ball away too much. My teammate seems to be a bit awkward. I'm going to go back, give him a bit of support. One more touch here to the corner. Unfortunately, I missed the second one. Something that can be improved upon. Big shot, it's off. One more touch from my teammate. It's a bit of a defensive situation here, so we don't want to overcommit. We just want to try and get the ball out of our half, out of our little corner, but make sure not to throw it away completely. It's a good touch across. Here it's a 1v1. I know that. We need to play it early, try and beat off the high touch, and we score the goal. 40 seconds left. We have a 4-2 lead. We need to just play solid defensive gameplay. Off of kickoff, we go get boost. Trying to play a bit more defensively. We're not going to overcommit on anything, but he does seem to have a threatening ball there. We're just going to challenge it early, play slow, keep some boost on the way back as well. We don't want to waste. Unfortunate miss from my teammate. I get to read it quickly enough to get to that ball. Now there's a bit of pressure here in the corner, just trying to get pads and stay relevant. Taking another mid left 100. He gets a touch up, waiting behind now. One touch for me since it's free. Going to put a little bit more pressure in this corner, but we're not going to overcommit. Just get the one touch and we're waiting. That's completely fine. Teammate now, bit of awkward situation. I go in, get a demo, make it a 1v1. He gets a good touch. 4 seconds left. Might as well just hit it towards their net. Unfortunately, it doesn't go in, and that's about all there is to it. And so basically, when you look at your own replays, there's 2 things you want to look at. One is your own decision making. Are you being a bit too overeager? Are you being a bit too defensive? Are you afraid? It's understanding your own decisions and whether they were good or bad. And the second thing is making sure that you don't leave your teammate in any awkward positions. Make sure that you're supporting him, you're in good positions to help him out at any point in time, and that you're relevant in every single play, both offensively and defensively. And that's about it. You should be good to go.
Woo. All right. Ooh. That was a good one. That was a really, really good one. Thanks to my guest, Umar, who I'm going to be chatting to later. So don't miss out, because that's going to be a fantastic conversation that we're going to have with him. But now it's time for gaming opportunities in your area. And I don't really have too much to tell you, but it is Rage Expo season. And all I got to say is you guys got to stay in tune, because surely there has to be an opportunity coming through from Rage. And you guys better be keeping a keen ear, because we're going to be there. We're going to be vibing. And if we're going to be there, we want you guys to be there as well. So keep an eye out, keep an ear out, and make sure you're staying in tune with everything we have to share here at Super Sports School's Gameplay. All right, now it's time to take a breather, take a short break, plug in my controller. I've been telling you I'm washed, I need my break, but On the other side of this, I have round 2 with my guest. See you on the other side. What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the show. And now it's time to officially welcome my guest. Welcoming today, Umar Rasul, aka Worty. Worty, how are you doing today, good sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
So fantastic to finally have you on the show. And this time, you've been on the show before, but that was like a small segment. This time, it's a full focus on you. So it's exciting times. But jumping right into it, so if you don't know who Worty is, allow me to introduce you to who this individual is. So, Mzansi bred talent, you're one of the best in the game and basically a veteran in the space. Competing since 2018, you've racked up a resume for yourself. Earning almost 350,000 Rand, you've represented teams like INV Gaming, ATK Arena, and even leading esports team in the Alps, Valiant. You've competed in RLCS World Championship, which is a dream for many. You've placed top 4 9 times, with 7 of those times being top 2 placements in the RLCS SSA regionals. Man, your career has seen a lot already. And I mean, now you've been transitioned into casting. How's the journey been, man?
It's been a very long journey, I feel like. I can still remember being a little kid in 2018, playing the game, being like, oh, maybe one day. And we've gotten to these days, but hopefully there's still more to come.
I mean, hopefully indeed, and we'll get into any of that. But what I've been most curious about is what actually attracted you to esports, and what is the sort of idea that sold you that, like, this is where you want to be?
I started watching Counter-Strike actually. Somehow it popped up on Supersport, which was amazing. I loved how competitive it was. I loved the stage, the lands, everything. The players, everyone was just so serious about it, and I love my games personally. But there's a difference between playing against your brother sitting next to you and playing against the best in the world for trophies. I'm not too big on all of the monetary stuff. I think trophies are very important. It's your honor that you play for.
Yeah. I mean, for me, especially someone who used to play semi-professional and academy football, it's not really the money that is the prize. It's like that trophy that you can have for years to come. Because I mean, that money will go, but that trophy you can keep for years on end. I mean, heck, if you want to show your kids at some point, you know, it's like it's the most sentimental value that you can hold, I feel, right? So what I'm curious about is you basically compete at the highest level. How do you balance competing while also studying? And what is something some students can take away from what you do in your day-to-day life and how you balance all of that?
I think it's tough. The first thing to understand is that it's not easy to do at all. First, you need to make sure that you have your priorities set. You need to make sure that when you need to study, when you have work to do, you get it done.
Yeah.
And another important thing is quality and time that you get to spend. So if you only have 2 hours a day to play, you spend those 2 hours, you do as best as you can, you do your analysis, you just train hard. But when you need to do work, you do work. It doesn't matter if you're spending 15 hours on something, if you're not actually paying attention, focusing, and really putting in a good effort to improve.
And what do you think is the most important thing that these students need to keep into account with regards to balancing their schedule? Is it more so prioritizing times for maybe their work, prioritizing times for maybe their VOD review, or they're like, what is things that they need to focus on first when it comes to balancing out their schedule?
I think having a good plan, especially as a student, is very important. You need to make sure that you've time managed how long it's going to take you to do your tasks, for you to get your work done, for studying, and then when you need to play, when you need to practice, you make sure that everything's jotted down. You have a nice schedule with you, a nice diary, anything, but it helps for that mental picture for when you need to make these preparations so that you're on the right page at all times.
And something I'm actually very curious about is like, you play only about 2 to 3 hours a day as compared to some guys who are playing like for me 10, 12 hours a day. Is that the quality that you speak about, using that time that you're given to the best of your ability to still maintain the same level as the other players?
100%. I think that they can spend an unbelievable amount of time, right? But the issue is that they're not necessarily savoring every single moment. So for every couple minutes that I spend in my 2 hours, I'm gonna make sure that I'm actively trying to improve. I'm looking for ways that I'm critiquing myself of all the mistakes that I'm making, all the decisions I can improve on, and inside and outside of the game. I need to make sure that the people I'm around as well when I'm outside of the game are still, I'm still there for everyone. I'm still making time for work, for people, for family. Very important to make sure you have this balance as well.
Fantastic. So again, pro Rocket League player, and you've competed at multiple lands, multiple events, and essentially you've seen the vision of esports. But how do you think TO companies can go about putting that or instilling that vision into maybe students, parents, teachers, and even schools that maybe are still a bit skeptical about getting into the space? How can we start involving a lot of these individuals and schools in esports to the point where it's widely recognized as even a sport perhaps, and we can start seeing more lands happening?
I think there's a lot of negative connotations when it comes to esports. I think that's the first thing that they need to address. Listen, you can be a healthy kid, a smart kid, and one that enjoys playing games. And it's very competitive as well. So I think they need to change the image that we currently have when it comes to esports. I think we need to make sure that, listen here, it's competitive, it's fair, it's friendly, it's safe. And at the end of the day, there's a lot on the line. It's not like you're playing for nothing. For schools and tournament organizers specifically, I think we just need to get more people involved. I think we need a lot more of us as pros to make sure that we can impart our knowledge, we can help, we can guide, because these kids have a lot of potential, but they need a helping hand. I'd love to see a lot more of them come through the ranks, For now, I think the number is a bit low, and that's partly on us, right? We need to be able to help out these people, make sure that when we eventually retire, unfortunately we all have that day, that they're there to take over from us, and we've left a good legacy for them to build upon.
And what do you think sort of hinders a bit of people maybe wanting to take that extra step? Is it maybe just players just needing to take more initiative? Is it maybe, do you feel like the schools or students need to reach out more? Where do you think there might be a bit of a disconnect when it comes to connecting the two worlds?
I think from our perspective as a player, we can only try to reach out so much until you start hitting brick walls. I think we need a lot more involvement from schools. And also from schools as well, they could probably need us to make more content. We need to be trying to reach out to more kids in the space. We need to be trying to impart a bit more knowledge and just in general being more active in the community. Because I think what happens with us is we recluse, we focus on ourselves a bit too much, whereas there's all these kids that look up to us and we're like, hey, I wanna be as good as you one day or something. And that's something that we need to look into. We need to make sure that we're helping everybody as much as we can.
Yeah, I mean, because you guys are basically like the Messi and Ronaldo of Rocket League for South Africa. So it's like these kids are basically looking up to you guys, right? So I think then obviously it also becomes a thing of like, then a bit of responsibility is dropped on some of the players and teams to be like, is now our time to be the ones to step up and be, you know what, let's lend out our knowledge to these players so that we can at least in turn start growing this way. Because I mean, again, it comes down to just community growth. We can't really grow if we're not focusing on growing the space as a whole. And that's the most important thing, right? Is making sure that the space continuously grows and is healthy for the next generation coming in.
100%. And I think one of the other things is that we sometimes also put a bit too much emphasis on ourselves. So I know as a player, there are points where I don't really want to help this guy. I'm not too sure about this, all this kind of stuff. But you're there to actually make an effort. Like, you need to make an effort. And I found that the more I've tried to help people, the more I've learned about my own game. So lending a helping hand, like, hey, let me help you with a couple mistakes. I'm going to try and look at what you're doing, see if I can help at any point. And that just gives me a new perspective sometimes. So I think a lot of players need to just, lose a bit of ego and just try help a lot of people out.
Fantastic stuff. So that's actually perfect. Ego, right? Talk to me on how important discipline is in the esports space and how far it can take you when you just maintain your core values, and what is something that you would like to see coming through from the students who are on the come up and how they should maintain themselves in the esports industry?
I think from a core value and a mindset perspective, it's very important because it's a very mentally taxing sport. There's people around you. You need to make sure you're always focusing on the game. Leave your emotions out of it. And that happens a lot, right? These kids are young. That's fair. I've had my fair share too. But once you mature, you realize, I didn't need to say that, all this kind of stuff. As well as just discipline. When you need to practice and you feel like you're cutting down or you're not playing as well as you should, you put in the individual effort. It's just like everything else. You need to practice, and it needs to be again and again and again until you hate it, and then you start loving it again. But it just, again, I don't think I would have been as relevant for 6 years if I didn't keep playing. A lot of the guys I started playing with, in fact, don't play anymore. They're not there. I'm one of the only last two, I think, currently at a fairly high level, I'd love to say. But there's no one left because they either lost the love or there's no more discipline and you slowly fall away from high-level competition.
And we've seen time and time again how, whether it's your ego, whether it's your temperament, or just something of that nature can kind of be the downfall of a very promising player. So you'd think that that's also something that some of these kids need to keep into account, is that not everything will stay the way it is if you maybe have a terrible mannerism when you approach your career, right?
100%. I think we've seen it a bit too much as well, is what I think. But there are kids who are like, hey, I'm trying to get better. They'll have their moments where they falter. That's completely fine. I respect that. I appreciate the effort and the growth and the accountability that they take. But there are some where you think they're a bit of a lost case. You see, they just come with all of this expectation. They're not ready to put in the work. They maybe lose a bit too much in the process. And it brings the entire team down. It's not just an individual game at the end of the day. You have 2, maybe 3 people around you at all times. So bringing your teammates down for it's not a good look.
Yeah, I get that. Awesome. So now I have a bit of a video I've got. It's from the archives, and it is of you. And I just obviously want to pick your brain after the video. And I know you're very nervous because I didn't warn you about this one. But let's take a look at the screen and see how it goes.
Sure.
Let's go.
I'll cry. I will cry. Rocket League means something that I enjoyed, that people didn't understand, that it gave me happiness, gave me time, and now I can prove that it was worth something. So, yeah.
There we go.
Man.
So, I know you probably don't like me for that, but I mean, why I kind of wanted to show that is it shows your raw emotion, you away from everything else, and just your genuine love for Rocket League. And with all of that being said, I mean, we understand just how much Rocket League means to you and how much you want to give to the space. What are your goals going forward? Because it's very clear that you want to continue on forward. You want to continue pushing forward. And where would you like to see the space? Because judging from what we've spoken about already, you also want to be heavily involved in growing the youth and making sure that they are the ones to take on the legacy of the Rocket League players that are playing now.
I think on an individual level, I want to get to at least 1 more international LAN. But the real goal is to make good placements on the international stage. I'm not here to come out last. And as much as we have a lot of issues and challenges here in South Africa for any player to make any sort of a dent internationally, it's possible. And we've proven that with time, with effort, and with just passion, it's a very doable task. So I believe that there's 1 more in me.
I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, you also have that belief that age is just a number when it comes to esports. I mean, we've had players that have been well over the age of 30, 40, even 50 competing. So, I mean, it's not out the ballpark, is it?
It never is. I'll be there until I'm on pension, I feel like.
That's fantastic. But, I mean, there's nothing really more to be said. It's been an absolutely amazing chat, Worthy. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. But ladies and gentlemen, that has been the show for today. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm kind of sad because it's getting closer and closer towards that time of end. But that doesn't mean I won't be seeing y'all next week. So I hope to be seeing you guys same time, same place. You know what it is. I've been Skara. This has been Gameplay, and we'll see you in the next one. GG's, gamers.